माधवा कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी
गोपी जनवल्लभा श्रीवरधारी
जय गोपी जनवल्लभा श्रीवरधारी
गोपी जनवल्लभा श्रीवरधारी
जय गोपी जनवल्लभा
यशोदानन्दना भजनन्दना यशोदानन्दना भजनन्दना His Divine Grace, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhu. ISKCON संस्थापकाचार्य से Guru Srila Prabhupada की जय, Srimad Bhagavatam की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद। इसके भगवद्गीता ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिके। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, entitled The Cosmic Manifestation. Chapter 9, answers by citing the Lord's version. Text number 36. Etāvad eva jijñāsyam etāvadeva jijñāsyam etāvadeva jijñāsyam tattva-jijñāsunā ātmanaḥ tattva-jijñāsunātmanaḥ anvaya-vyatirekābhyāṁ anvaya-vyatirekābhyāṁ syāt sarvatra sarvadā syāt sarvatra sarvadā. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, most certainly search for it up to this in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. Please repeat the translation. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, most certainly search for it up to this in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. Continue to read the purport, the last 3 paragraphs. Similarly, as indicated indirectly in various places in the Vedic scriptures, even though one is well versed in all the Vedas and scriptures, if one is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, he is considered to be the lowest of mankind. In the Garuda Purana, Brihanardiya Purana and Padma Purana, the same is repeated. What is the use of Vedic knowledge and penances for one who is devoid of devotional service to the Lord? What is the comparison of thousands of Prajapatis to one devotee of the Lord? Shukadeva Goswami said that neither the ascetic, nor one who is greatly munificent, nor one who is famous, nor the great philosopher, nor the great occultist, nor anyone else can achieve the desired result without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Even if a place is more glorious than heaven, if there is no glorification of the Lord of Vaikuntha or his pure devotee, it should at once be quitted. The pure devotee refuses to accept all the 5 different types of liberation in order to be engaged in the service of the Lord. The final conclusion, therefore, is that the glories of the Lord must be always and everywhere proclaimed. Sada, sarvatra, sarvadā. One should hear about his glories, one should chant about his glories, and one should always remember his glories, because that is the highest perfectional state of life. As far as fruitive work is concerned, it is limited to an enjoyable body. As far as yoga is concerned, it is limited to the acquirement of mystic power. As far as empiric philosophy is concerned, it is limited to the attainment of transcendental knowledge. And as far as transcendental knowledge is concerned, it is limited to attainment of salvation. Even if they are adopted, there is every chance of discrepancies in discharging the particular type of functions. But adoption of the transcendental devotional service of the Lord has no limit, nor is there fear of falling down. The process automatically reaches the final stage by the grace of the Lord. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, there is an apparent requisite for knowledge. But in the higher stage, there is no anxiety of such knowledge. The best and guaranteed path of progress is therefore engagement in Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service. The last paragraph in the purport. The cream of Srimad Bhagavatam in the foregoing 4 shlokas is sometimes squeezed out by the impersonalist for different interpretations in their favor. But it should be carefully noted that the 4 shlokas were first described by the Personality of Godhead himself, and thus the impersonalist has no scope to enter into them because he has no conception of the Personality of God. Therefore, the impersonalist may squeeze out any interpretations from them, but such interpretations will never be accepted by those who are taught in the disciplic succession from Brahma, as will be cleared up in the following verses. Besides that, the Shruti confirms that the Supreme Absolute Truth Personality of Godhead never reveals himself to anyone. The Supreme Truth Absolute Personality of Godhead never reveals himself to anyone who is falsely proud of his academic knowledge. The Shruti mantra clearly says, Kathopanishad 1.2.23, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Na medhaya na bahudha shutena yamevaisha vrunute tena labhyaha tasyaisha atma vivrunute tanum swam. The whole matter is explained by the Lord himself, and one who has no approach to the Lord in his personal feature can rarely understand the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam without being taught by the Bhagavatas in the disciplic succession. Thus ends the Bhakti-Vedanta purport. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the last portion of the purport, in which it's clearly explained that Bhakti Yoga is the most important yoga, and it is the only method of understanding the absolute truth as the person, the Supreme Person, Personality of God. In several places in the scriptures, this is directly and indirectly explained. Some of the indirect quotations are given by Prabhupada, 6 of them, and they all point to the importance or significance of devotional service. And the greatness of devotional service is also highlighted in this particular verse, that the pure devotee refuses to accept all the 5 different types of liberation in order to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. There is a statement by Lord Kapila in the 3rd canto of the Bhagavatam that devotees are so much attracted by the personality of Godhead that they refuse to accept the 5 kinds of liberation. Out of the 5 kinds of liberation, one is generally accepted only by the impersonalists, syāt, merging into the existence of the Supreme or merging into the Brahma Jyoti. But the other 4 types of liberation are meant only for devotees. Samipya, Salokya, Sashti and Sarupya. They are all pertaining to the liberation that is obtained inside the Vaikuntha Loka, inside the personal abode of the Personality of Godhead. So these 4 liberations are meant for devotees. But pure devotees who are attracted to serving the Personality of Godhead out of spontaneous love, not following the rules and regulations, but out of spontaneous love. Such devotees don't even want these other 4 kinds of liberation which is reserved for devotees. They don't even want that. Because they want to be engaged in the service of the Lord for His pleasure in any condition, in any place, in any situation, in any form of service. They are simply wanting the service itself, in order to please the Lord. Now this is very nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 12th chapter. Till the 12th chapter, the greatness of devotional service is explained in the 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th and 11th. 5 chapters. After Krishna declares in the 6th chapter, end of 6th chapter, that the topmost yogi is the bhakti yogi, then he describes how to become a bhakti yogi. What should one do? So the knowledge required, the understanding, the practice, the confidential information, the 9th chapter, confidential information, and perceiving the Lord's presence in the material world, His splendor, His opulence, His greatness, His power. Personality of Godhead means He's not like you and me. He's not like some Devata. He's not like even Brahma and Shiva. He's greater than all the personalities. So His greatness is described by Krishna in the 10th chapter, opulence of the Absolute. The splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, the splendor of the planets. That's explained by Krishna in the 10th chapter. And in the 11th chapter, He displays His universal form and says only devotees can actually see this universal form. Of course, there are different universal forms of the Lord. There is a universal form that is shown to Duryodhana by Krishna. Then Krishna goes for peace negotiation to Duryodhana's palace. Duryodhana thinks Krishna is an ordinary person. So Krishna, in order to help Duryodhana understand something about the transcendental personality, he shows one of his universal forms. But Duryodhana still thinks that Krishna is using some mystic power in order to somehow make him accept the peace negotiation. Make him share the kingdom. But this universal form that was shown to Arjuna, that is different. There are many universal forms, but the form that was shown to Arjuna, that was different. What is that form? That form is seeing the whole universe sitting in one place and seeing in the universal form the form of the Lord as Kala. Kalosmi. Because Arjuna asks this question, who are you? What is your purpose? Because Arjuna sees very ghastly things. So Krishna says, Kalosmi. I am Kala. Time I am. Destroyer of the worlds. Lokakshayakrit. So Kala, what does Kala do? It destroys everything. Everything is destroyed by Kala. So that Kala, Arjuna is able to see. And he is able to see Kala as, generally we also are able to perceive Kala, but we cannot perceive Kala as past, present, future simultaneously. We cannot do that. So Arjuna is able to see past, present, future. Arjuna is able to see all the worlds. He is able to see all the devatas. He is able to see all the asuras. He is able to see all the Vishvedevas, Sadhyas, Charanas, Kimpurushas, Gandharvas. Everybody is able to see. So that requires devotional vision. After Krishna displays his universal form to Arjuna, this particular universal form, Arjuna is not able to see. Then Krishna says, I will give you special vision. And then Arjuna is able to see. So Arjuna becomes perturbed. He sees the entire universe with all the energies, all the manifestations of the energies in one place. And Arjuna becomes bewildered. So after showing all this, then Krishna shows Arjuna his Saumya Rupa, the pleasing form. Universal form also is a form, but it's a ghastly form. Ghora Rupam. It's a ghastly form. It is not meant for devotees. Universal form is not meant for devotees. Devotees like to see Saumya Rupa, pleasing form. That pleasing form, one of the pleasing forms Krishna shows, four-handed form, which Arjuna requests. So open the Bhagavad Gita, tell me which is the shloka, in which Arjuna requests to see the four-handed form. Because Arjuna is very disturbed after seeing the universal form. What is the verse? 46th verse. Read the verse. No. Read the verse. Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrahastam Ichchami Tvam. Read the full verse. Read the translation.
O Universal Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head and with club, wheel conch and wood's flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form.
So Arjuna is requesting Krishna, because before this verse Arjuna is told, even though at my request you showed me the universal form, my mind is disturbed. Drishtvevam goram rupamidam. What is that verse? The previous verse. Rishitosmi drishtva. Read the words. Translation.
After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened, but at the same time my mind is disturbed with fear.
My mind is disturbed with fear, even though Arjuna is glad he saw the universal form, because that is the glory of the Lord. The glory of the Lord. See, all through 7th chapter, the glory of the Lord is described in terms of His energies. Everything that is manifest, He is the source, and everything is simply a manifestation of two of His energies, the inferior material energy and the superior spiritual energy. In the 8th chapter, he describes how one can attain the supreme by simply fixing one's attention on Krishna at the time of death, and by practicing such fixing of mind by practicing Bhakti Yoga. And in the 9th chapter, he describes the confidential knowledge that as the personality of Godhead, He is present everywhere. The personality is behind the energy. The personality is behind the manifestation. The personality is the basis of the yajna, basis of the sacrifices, basis of all the demigods, basis of all the fruitive activities, basis of awarding the results of all fruitive activities. So that confidential knowledge is given in the 9th chapter. And 9th chapter concludes, become my devotee. Means devotee of the personality of Godhead. Not devotee of the universal form. Not devotee of the impersonal Brahman. Not devotee of Paramatma manifestation. Even though all are manifestations of Supreme Lord, specifically 9th chapter, confidential knowledge, he says, to worship me in my form as the personality of God, and you can offer just one leaf, one flower, one fruit. Anybody can approach me, even the most sinful man, even the fallen persons, even the low-born persons, Vaishya, Shudra, Stri. Anybody can approach me and achieve the highest destination, highest perfection. And he says, for this what we have to do? Man-mana, think of me, bhavaman bhakto, madhyaji, mam namaskuru. Then immediately Arjuna asks, how can I think of you in this material world? Think of you as the personality of God. How can I think of you in this material world? So for that he says that my opulence is everywhere. The opulence of the personality of God is everywhere. That opulence of the personality of Godhead is manifest as the splendor of everything splendid, as the power of everything powerful, as the greatness of everything great. The 10th chapter, all the details are given. And in the 11th chapter, the universal form is displayed. Krishna, again on the request of Arjuna, Arjuna says, I want to see how you have entered into this world. In what form you have entered into this world. So then, because Krishna concludes at the end of 10th chapter, what does he conclude? Simply by my entering into this material world as Paramatma, I pervade the entire material creation. Huge material creation. So many universes, each universe having so many planets, each planet having so many life forms, so many mountains, rivers, and so many variety, diversity. Everything Krishna has entered as Paramatma. So he says, by small fragment of myself, Paramatma, I pervade the entire universe. So then Arjuna asks, can I see that form in which you have entered into this universe? Then Krishna says, yes, I will show you. Show the universal form. Then Arjuna is completely perturbed. So at the request of Arjuna again, Arjuna is asking, please show me your 400 form. But then the 400 form is meant for those who are worshipping the Lord in devotional service out of reverential devotion. Bhakti, which is tinged with the knowledge of the Aishwarya aspect of the Lord. Aishwarya, He is the supremely opulent, supremely powerful, supremely glorious, supremely rich, supremely knowledgeable Bhagavan, supremely renounced. That personality of Godhead, people bow down for devotion. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashidashriyaha jnana-vairagyoschaiva ashannam bhaga iti. 6 opulences, unlimited. Samagrasya, samagra, sum total of all the wealth. That is Krishna's wealth. That is Krishna's opulence. So people become very reverential. They bow down out of great reverence. Oh, He is the greatest. Nobody greater than Him. Nobody equal to Him. Asamordhva. That personality, they bow down. That is reverential devotion. But that reverential devotion is not very pleasing to the personality of God. It is accepted by the Lord as Narayana, as Vishnu, as Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, so many forms. 400 forms, all 400 forms of the Lord are accepting this reverential devotional service from the devotees, who bow down with all humility, with great reverence, with great respect, with no proper knowledge. They bow down to the Lord. Manmana bhavaman bhakto madhyaji man namaskuru. So they bow down. But Krishna, the 200 form, in his 200 form, he is worshipped by the devotees out of spontaneous love. He is served by the devotee out of spontaneous love. That form he shows after showing the 400 form. And he says, though the universal form is very difficult to be seen, if somebody is given divine vision, then that person will see. Then the 400 form is even more rare to be seen in this world. Only once in a while when the Lord incarnates in different forms, then he can be seen. Because even though he is present as Vishnu, the demigods cannot see him. The asuras cannot see him. All the personalities in the upper planets or middle planets or lower planets with all their mystic power, they cannot see him as Vishnu. So when he incarnates in different forms as the personality of Godhead, Rama, Narasimha, Rama, Vamana, Matsya, Kurma, then they can see him. Now these incarnations are rare in this material world. These incarnations are rare. So when he incarnates, they can see him in his 400 form. But the 200 form is the rarest of rare forms. That is not to be seen even by the Devatas. Because most people in this material world do not know the absolute truth as the personality of God. They do not know. So even when the Lord incarnates, they see him as ordinary human being. Just like Hiranyaksha, when he saw Varaha form. Oh, what kind of beast is this? Huge form of hog. Thinking, who is this hog? was come to challenge me. Let me just kill this hog, finish it up. So he tried to fight, thinking this is some hog. But actually the Supreme Lord was appeared in that form just to bewilder the atheists. Bewilder the atheists. They get bewildered when they think that this is some ordinary hog I can fight. And instead of fighting against the hog, Hiranyaksha got killed. So when Hiranyaksha is killed, then other asuras, other persons are bewildered. What is this hog-like form? But the devatas, because of their following the authorized process of knowing the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, they recognize, oh, here is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. The basis of the Vedas. And the sound incarnation of whom is the Vedic knowledge. So they recognize. So and they offer wonderful prayers to Varaha. Vamana, he comes as Vamana. And to trick the Asuras, the Devatas recognize, oh, here is the personality of God, who is incarnated as Vamana. But the form as Krishna, that form is very, very, very rare to be seen. That form of Krishna, even the Devatas, who generally can recognize the incarnations of the Lord, do not recognize the form, two-handed form of Krishna. Even Brahma is bewildered by seeing the two-handed form of Krishna as covered God in Vrindavan. Indra is bewildered. Varuna is bewildered. All the Devatas are bewildered. Or they are in ignorance, they do not know. So, the two-handed form is shown to Arjuna, and Krishna says that at the end of the 11th chapter, Bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya aham evam vidho Arjuna jñātum drashtum ca tattvena praveshtum ca parantapa. What is that verse? 54th verse, I think. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya aham evam vidho. The way you are seeing me in this two-handed form can only be seen by pure devotional service. What is the translation? Only by undivided devotional service
can I be understood as I am.
Can I be understood as I am.
Standing before you and can thus be seen directly.
Seen directly. If you want to directly see the two-handed form, then undivided devotional service. Now what is that undivided devotional service? That is explained in the 12th chapter. First of all, Arjuna's question, who is better? One who worships the impersonal Brahman or one who worships your personal form? Straight away Krishna says one who worships personal form is the superior one, the best one. Then in the 8th verse, what is the 8th verse of the 12th chapter? Mayyeva mana ādatsva mai buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mayyeva atha urdhvam na samshayah. So here he describes that undivided devotional service. What is that undivided devotional service? Read the translation.
Just fix your mind upon me, the personality of Godhead. Engage all your intelligence, thus you will live in me always without a doubt.
Fixing the mind upon Krishna and engaging all intelligence in Him, living always within Him. Nivashasyasi mayyeva. In this way,
Thus you will live in me always without a doubt.
thus you will live in me without, always without a doubt. So, Prabhupada explains in the purport, this is the spontaneous devotion to Krishna. The spontaneous devotion out of love for Krishna. Such love for Krishna is not to be attained simply by following the rules and regulations of bhakti. By rules and regulations of bhakti, what you get is told in the next verse. What is the next verse? 9th verse. Abhyasa yogena tato. That abhyasa yoga is practice of devotional service according to rules and regulations. By rules and regulations, you can attain the stage of devotion where you reverentially worship the Lord, and generally such persons are able to attain the realization of the four-handed form of the Lord, either as Vasudeva or as Sankarshana or as Pradyumna or as Aniruddha or as Narayana or any of the other manifestations of the Lord in this material world in his different incarnations. But you want to realize Krishna in his two-handed form, where he is engaged in intimate pastimes with his devotees without even the devotees considering his opulence, his greatness, his power. Just like Krishna in Vrindavan. Coward boy. Everybody is playing with him. Somebody is kissing him. Somebody is licking his feet. One calf is coming licking his feet. Is that God? With all the power. That is not considered. That is not important. What is his power? What is his opulence? What is his strength? Some asura comes, sent by Kamsa to kill Krishna. Suddenly the cowherd boys are all playing and they are seeing some demon has come, they are afraid. They simply cry out, Krishna! Then they say, okay, don't worry. This fellow is disturbing our play. I will finish him off and then we can continue playing. So Krishna kills the asura, and what do the cowherd boys do? They continue playing with Krishna. They don't think, this small boy Krishna, how did he kill? They don't even consider. You see, they are not bewildered by Krishna's strength, Krishna's power, Krishna's opulence. They are not bewildered. They are simply interested in serving Krishna in order to please him. In whichever way they can please him, intimately being connected with him, they can please him. That is what Krishna wants. In Vrindavan, what Krishna wants is spontaneous love. He does not want reverential devotion in Vrindavan. That's why those with reverential devotion cannot enter into Vrindavan. They cannot enter into Vrindavan. They are not able to understand what is this devotion of the residents of Vrindavan. Braja Bhakti. What is the Braja Bhakti? So a hint of that is given in this 8th shloka. In the Bhagavatam, this is described in detail. The Bhagavatam, this reverential devotion is described in detail, especially after preparing the reader. Vyasadeva prepares the reader in what is reverential devotional service in the 9 cantos, first 9 cantos. First 9 cantos, you thoroughly understand what is the position of the personality of Godhead as against the energies, the manifestations, the power, the devatas, the creation, the destruction, the maintenance, the Brahma Jyoti, the mystic power. Everything is clarified. Right? Dhruva Samuni, so powerful mystic, but in front of devotee he has to bow down. So this dynamic position of the devotees in relationship with the personality of Godhead, Ambarish Maharaj in relationship with the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, that is shown. So one is thoroughly convinced in the first 9 cantos about the personality of Godhead in his feature as the person. He is the supreme. He is the source of all this Brahman and Brahma-jyoti and energies and manifestations and creation and devatas and prajapatis, everything. Then Shukadeva Goswami begins to speak in the 10th canto about Krishna. Now which form of Krishna? The form of Krishna in Vrindavan. Form of Krishna in Vrindavan. That Vrindavan Krishna is the most confidential knowledge in the Bhagavatam. That he describes. And Parikshit also is very eager to hear about this particular Vrindavan pastimes. Because at the end of the 9th canto, Krishna describes, Shukadeva Goswami describes about Krishna briefly as descendant of Yadu dynasty. He describes so many kings. Right? 9th canto is about so many dynasties. So in one of the dynasties, Lord appears as Rama. One of the dynasties, Lord appears as Parshurama. Prabhu dynasty. One of the dynasties, he appears as Vamana. One of the dynasties, he appears as Krishna, Balaram. So he describes dynasties. He describes Sun dynasty, Moon dynasty, everything. But Parikshit immediately says, oh no, this is not sufficient description. You not gave me details about Krishna, who appeared in the Yadu dynasty, but he performed pastimes in Vrindavan. As soon as he was born, as the descendant of the Yadu dynasty, son of Vasudeva, Yadu Vamsha, but immediately he was transferred to, on the plea of protection from atrocities of Kamsa, with the pastime of the Lord. He was transferred to Vrindavan. In Vrindavan he was there for 13 years. So what all he did those 13 years, that is what Parikshit wants to know. And that Shukadeva Goswami describes. Shukamukhad amrita drava samyutam Pivata Bhagavatam rasama. This is where Bhagavata rasa is. The rasa in the 10th canto, in the description of Vrindavan Krishna, the rasa that he exchanges with his intimate devotees, Yashoda, Nanda. Krishna is being fed the breast milk of Mother Yashoda. Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can feed him? Nobody can feed him. He maintains and feeds everyone. Nobody can feed him. Only Yashoda can feed him. So it is very, very confidential pastime of the Lord. Difficult to understand. That is God who has come in this form and is actually playing with the covered boys. He is playing with the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, is crawling. One devotee of Chaitanya, he said, let others worship the personality of Godhead out of fear, out of reverence, out of desire for mystic power. Let them worship. I simply will worship Nanda Maharaj. Why? Because in Nanda Maharaj's courtyard, the Supreme Brahman is crawling on his feet, on his knees. So this is Vraja Bhakti. So this Vraja Bhakti is very, very rarely attained. Even among devotees, it's very rare, the Vraja Bhakti. And that Vraja Bhakti is what is taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Through the Sankirtana process, Sankirtan movement, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is distributing this Vraja Bhakti. And even Krishna, when he came 5,000 years back, he displayed those Vrindavan pastimes which are very, very, very rare in this entire universe, in that creation. Even rare for Lakshmi Devi also it's very rare. The Vrindavan pastimes. That's why it is described, Lakshmi Devi is trying to enter the rasa dance. So for entering the rasa dance, she is actually performing severe austerities. In one of the forests in Vrindavan, she is performing severe austerities. Uddhava, he wants to enter into Vrindavan Leela of Krishna because he is very faithfully serving the Lord in Dwarka. Vasudev Krishna. He is serving very nicely and Krishna instructs him also very nicely. But then when he sees the inhabitants of Vrindavan, what is their devotion to Krishna? Then he is completely struck with wonder. What is this devotion? Then he prays, in my next life, I may take birth in Vrindavan even as a blade of grass, so that the dust of the feet of the Vrindavan devotees may fall on my head and I may be blessed with this Braja Bhakti. So that Braja Bhakti, spontaneous devotion, is what is very rare, and that is actually described by Brahma in this parampara. Brahma was able to see Vaikuntha after seeing Vishnu. But he was fortunate also, our Brahma, in our universe. He is fortunate also to see Krishna as the two-handed cowherd boy Govinda. And Krishna also gave him a darshan of Goloka Vrindavana. And that is described in the Brahma Samhita. In every kalpa, Brahma is able to see Vaikuntha. But rarely, in one kalpa, Brahma saw Goloka Vrindavana, the two-handed form of Krishna. And that is when he composed Brahma Samhita. Govinda Madhipurusha. So that knowledge of Goloka Vrindavana, of two-handed form of Krishna, is coming down in this parampara, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Parampara, that knowledge, confidential knowledge is coming down, and that is distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That knowledge and that devotional service and the mode of devotion, that is distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Prabhupada is coming in that parampara, and that is the basis of writing these purports. Bhakti Vedanta purports, when we say, it is that understanding that is coming down. That the absolute personality of Godhead in his most confidential, spontaneous devotion, that two-handed form towards the two-handed form, that is described. Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhu.